I mean, that was terrible. I mean, it was terrible yesterday. The Eagles get up 21-0, but for me, Hugh, a lot of that was early. The Cowboys were making a lot of mistakes. The Eagles were capitalizing. I didn't feel like they were truly dominating the game, but they had the lead. And if they could just play well the rest of the way, that lead was going to carry them to a victory. And they didn't play well. They were a disaster the rest of the way, from execution to coaching to penalties to turnovers. They did everything in their power to give away a football game yesterday. And look, we'll unpack this thing in the grand scheme. Everything is still there in front of them, but yesterday was a major problem for two things. One, their chances at the 1 seed went down considerably. The Rams have jumped them now. Mm-hmm. And two, yesterday, all the things that all of us who sit here and say it doesn't look right, versus the, hey, a win is a win, that eventually things bite you. And when you can't run the ball, when you can't move the ball, when your coaching is subpar, you're going to blow games. And you know what happened yesterday for me, Hugh? I watched that, and I still think they're going to play into the middle or deep of January, but I'm never going to be comfortable now. I don't know how I could be. They now have on their ledger this season the blown loss at home to the Broncos and yesterday. So how am I as a fan ever going to be comfortable again in the rest of the season in a game where they're going up against a competent coaching quarterback? And Dak's obviously a tremendous quarterback. And when it was Denver
he's going to play well.
Yeah, of course he played well. He always plays well against the Eagles, especially down in Dallas. But how can I now feel comfortable the rest of the season? They can't run the ball. They can't hold the lead. And I was saying it last week, they are putting way too much pressure on their defense. You can't expect a defense in the NFL, especially on turf against a big-time offense, who just gets stopped for 3 hours. So you got to help them out. The offense, and specifically the coaching on the offense, which I want to get to, a joke yesterday. Hugh, what are you feeling after the Eagles lose that game?
Man, I don't know how I feel. I was watching it yesterday, and I was just like, wow. I mean, you know what? To be honest, if I'm being honest, AJ had been saying it a few weeks ago. Not saying that he was right in his delivery, not saying that. But he talked about it. And I was thinking about how people were mad at him because of his delivery. You're shooting the messenger instead of listening to the message. And yesterday it finally caught up with you, to your point. Defense played well up to a point, and then they just, started breaking down.
Yep.
Offense was stagnant in the second half.
Well, not just, they scored the third touchdown with 12 minutes to go in the second quarter. I mean, they didn't score again for the last 40 minutes of the game.
There's not, I've had a friend of mine call me last night. We were talking, and he played offense, and so you always kind of listen to what people that have played offense say. And he was talking about how this offense looks arrogant. He said they don't do a lot of motion. He said they don't disguise a whole lot of things. He said they don't scheme guys open. Like, there's a lot to digest when it comes to this. So it's one of those things where you knew that they needed to play better. I just wish it wasn't the Dallas Cowboys, because now I got folks on my timeline talking trash like like they're just the end-all, the be-all. And it's funny talking about this their year. Man, listen, Cowboy fans believe anything. You know what I mean? They believe anything. They got. I'm not gonna say they got lucky. They played well. This one hurts. This one hurts.
Of course it hurts. And it's a terrible loss that should never happen. And when we're playing in the first weekend of the postseason instead of sitting at home resting, this is why. I mean, yesterday very likely cost the Eagles a bye in the first round of the playoffs. And it shouldn't have happened. 215-592-9494. And what's striking to me yesterday, and I have not been hammering this the entire season, because I think there's a lot of elements to why the Eagles have struggled offensively. But yesterday specifically, I'm blaming the coaches for that loss. That is a coaching loss yesterday by the Philadelphia Eagles, and it starts with two people. And I'm excluding Vic Fangio, because I think Vic Fangio does a tremendous job week in, week out. Yesterday, I'm giving him a pass. They asked his defense to do a lot. They buckled. They had a lot of injuries late, going up against a good offense. When I say coaching, I'm excluding Vic Fangio. It's two people for me today. It is Nick Sirianni, and I want to get to a lot of what he did yesterday that I didn't like, and it's Kevin Patullo. They stunk yesterday, and they stunk in a way that just feels unacceptable. I don't think the Eagles were prepared for the game yesterday. I want to let you hear some of the things that came out before the game and then after the game, and then we'll talk about the game itself. I don't think the Eagles' offense was prepared for what the Cowboys were going to do, and it's unacceptable. So yesterday, listen to Jay Glazer before the game talking about the Cowboys. We knew they had remade their defense. They made some trades. They got Quinnen Williams, so they were different than they were, let's say, what was on tape a month ago. Listen to Jay Glazer with what the Cowboys had become in the last few weeks.
All their defensive tackles since trade deadline. Quinnen Williams, right? And you saw a difference that he already made. So I asked him, I said, so you have all these D tackles, what are you going to do? He said, this allows us to use 5-man fronts. And we're going to do it a lot. You're going to see all these guys kind of rotate different. And I said, well, how often did you use 5-man fronts before the trade deadline? Like, not really, hardly ever. So now we're going to be able to use this in certain situations just to mix things up a lot more than we had and show some different looks than we were able to do before the trade deadline.
All right, so Glazer before the game. Jay Glazer on television with information that the Cowboys are going to use 5-man fronts. They used them throughout the game. Saquon Barkley can't run. 10 carries for 22 yards. The Eagles obviously struggled to get off of those. Nick Sirianni after the game, what happened with those 5-man fronts the Cowboys are throwing at you?
This is a running theme. Defense is coming out to do something different to stop the run. Landis, 5-man fronts, what they did a lot of early on. How can you guys kind of get defenses out of doing that? And what are the best ways to counter that? Finally, get the run game going.
Yeah, you got to make sure that again. I think some of the things that we did today was try to throw them out of it. Because when you have 5-man on the run, obviously, then they're going to have one less guy there into the coverage. So I think we did some of those things. Obviously, not well enough. Again, it comes back to how we scheme it against the different personnel groups and how we execute it. But we have to find a way to be, anytime you're one-dimensional, that makes it tough. I think we didn't have the run game going again. And when I say that, it's on everybody. It's on the coaching. It's on the playing. In this game of football, it's never just one thing. And so we got to identify what it is and try to get better from it. Yeah, uncharacteristic of us, obviously. Always put that on me.
Well, good. We'll put it on you because you're the head coach of the football team and your team wasn't prepared. And let's hear this from Landon Dickerson after the game. This was the most telling. And Landon in here used a phrase that, Hugh, when you do the players' line, sometimes you'll talk about the next day or on that show, you hear this phrase. And I'm tired of hearing this phrase from the Eagles because it tells me the coaching staff isn't preparing them. Let's hear Landon Dickerson after the game on that 5-man front thing, what the Cowboys were doing, and how. You'll hear it. You guys can decide what you hear. I hear a player that says we weren't prepared for what they were doing. Here it is.
They rarely run, and we just didn't execute the game plan we had.
What was that defense?
Just 5 down fronts. It's not typically something they were running a whole lot, and it turns out that was their flavor of the day.
All right, so he says they're not something they use a lot. Mm-hmm. Again, they did it the whole Monday night game against the Raiders. And Jay Glazer knew. You know who else knew? The graphics guy for Fox. Because when I got home yesterday, and I'm rewatching the game from the start, they put, how they do the starting defense? They put up all their faces and their names, whatever. They had 5 defensive linemen. So if the graphics person from Fox knows it's going to be a 5-man defensive line, but Landon Dickerson doesn't, that's a problem. Here's Dickerson with practice, trying to get the reps for the things these teams are going to do, and maybe they just missed this one.
Yeah, I think a big thing is, it's time on task with, obviously you can't run every play to every defense during the week. So I think we really just have to hone in on, having a game plan for every defense that a team has run and every possible defense that they can run and make sure that we can execute against all of them.
It's a joke. But that last yesterday there from Landon Dickerson, he's telling you they didn't practice up against that front enough. They weren't ready for it. That's on Sirianni, who's the head coach and should see every play that the Cowboys have run the last month, and it's on Kevin Patullo. They didn't have the players prepared yesterday. The player told you.
Yeah, I don't want to pretend like I know what Landon was saying, because you should be prepared for all contingencies because you watched the last 4 game films that they have.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Well, that's how it used to be.
Sure.
And I assume that that's not the case. You watched the latest game, you watched the last 3 games they played in, and there has to be somebody in there that's breaking down film that notices that. So I don't know if he misspoke or anything like that.
I don't think he misspoke.
But I remember vividly. Like you said, I can't defend that. But I remember vividly when we were sitting in meetings, we'll watch the last game that they played, and we'll watch 3 other tapes, cut-ups of plays that they had success with, plays, and we would watch teams that were similar to the defense that we ran and see how they attacked them and everything like that. That, to me, blows my mind.
Yeah, look, I've heard that phrase from Landon, from when you do the Players Lounge, quite a bit over the last couple of years. Unscouted looks. That tells me it's a coaching staff that's not preparing the players enough. That they are getting one. The other coaches are getting one over. I thought yesterday was coaching malpractice. Sirianni, we'll talk about him throughout the show. I thought they took their foot off the gas in a lot of ways. I thought they got up and tried. They could I'll just get out of here with a close win. It doesn't work like that always in the NFL. And yesterday, Patullo got schooled. I mean, it was a joke what I saw yesterday. 215-592-9494. Hugh, where are you before we get to Kyle? Coaches or players who lost that game? Because it's clearly, for me, the coaching staff yesterday.
I would probably say the players. I would put it on the players. I know that a lot of people are looking at the coaches. There's a lot of blame to go around, man. There's too many common denominators for me that I can just wholeheartedly blame it on the coaches. Now, I know Kevin Patullo, that he's the flavor of the month. He's the guy that people want to fire. But, man, since I've been here, the offensive struggles have always looked the same. You know, we got over that hump last year and won the Super Bowl, but the struggles have been the same. The offense at times has looked disjointed for the last 3 years. So I don't know if I can just put it all on Kevin Patullo. He's a part of the problem, but I don't think he's all of the problem.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of blame to go around. Where do you come down? Coaches, players, how the hell did that happen yesterday? 215-592-9494. Kyle, where do you come down as the Eagles go to Dallas? They go up 21-0, and now we're all pissed today.
Yeah, well, I mean, because that was like a just complete nightmare scenario if you're an Eagles fan. Not just losing to Dallas, but losing in that way.
Yep.
You kind of end up giving the Cowboys life for the playoffs. I mean, I still think the division's over. But like now, I mean, you really had a chance to bury the Cowboys there, and they didn't. And that's just such an embarrassing way to lose. I think it's a Nick Sirianni loss. It reminded me a lot of the Washington game last season, where the one where Hurts went out, and the offense just could not stay on the field. It was 3 and out after 3 and out, and the defense could only hold for so long. I mean, the defense just held the Cowboys to 24 points, which isn't a ton. Like, this offense, with all the talent we have, should be able to put up more than 24 freaking points. So they just looked like a team who was undisciplined, 14 penalties, and just completely unprepared to play that game. So I don't know how you can't put that on the head coach. Like, that to me was the most Sirianni loss, I think, of his entire tenure here.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said 14 penalties and literally a player after the game saying we weren't prepared for what the Cowboys defense was going to do. I mean, that is the biggest indictment of the coaching staff I've heard out loud the whole year. He said it. They didn't know that was coming. How did they not know that was coming?
Yeah,
Jay Glazer knew.
My mind.
The graphics guy for Fox knew. If you watched Monday Night Football last week, you saw them in 5-man fronts. It tells me the coaching staff overlooked the Cowboys. They didn't take it seriously enough that they had to comb through every play the Cowboys have run the last 4 weeks. Otherwise, they would have seen what Jake Glazer saw and what the graphics guy.
Especially when you talk about them being on a bye week, the last game that they played in with Quentin Williams, and how much he's changed the dynamic of that defense.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a tough one.
Yeah, what I saw yesterday was coaching malpractice. 215-592-9494. Your take on it all as the Eagles lose. And it's one that it's going to stick with me. Now, again, I agree with Kyle. I don't think yesterday changed the NFC East. The Eagles are still going to win this division, but by the time the season is over. Does Dallas have a little life for the postseason? Potentially, yeah. They're 5-5-1. The bigger issue for me moving forward is I can't trust the Eagles now. How are any of us... Let's say it's January 16th. It's the NFC divisional round. They're up 14-0 on Seattle or whoever. Are you gonna feel it's over? I'm not. They can't run the ball. They can't finish games. They go up, and then it's like, oh, they're even going to move the ball for the next hour and a half. They didn't score for 41 minutes yesterday. Yeah. It's tough to, the Eagles are good enough they could beat anyone, but they're also their flaws and their inability to run out of clock. They could lose to anyone with the way they're playing right now.